we're going to move on to topic number 9, and that is Simmons sitting out. Ben Simmons just came out yesterday, or at least a report came out yesterday, saying that Ben Simmons is done with the 76ers. He's not going to report to training camp, and he's even said he is never going to put that Sixers uniform on again. Brandon, what do you think of this Ben Simmons situation? We knew he wasn't happy. We didn't think he was the right fit with the Sixers, but now Simmons is playing his own hand here, just like a lot of NBA players have over the last couple of seasons. What do you think is going on with Ben Simmons?
Buy him a plane ticket back to Australia, because I honestly don't care if he sits out or not. I think most NBA fans will say that too. This guy's not that exciting to watch. And I would think even most NBA fans would say he's one of the most overrated NBA players over the last decade. And I think he's proven that with his game. The guy can't develop a jump shot to save his life. Getting paid millions and millions of dollars. Get yourself in the gym, stay in the gym until you develop a jump shot. We've seen this from other NBA players where, let's even bring up maybe a guy that, struggles from the line. He'll take himself in there and he'll shoot nonstop and get himself better. Like, have some pride in your craft, Ben Simmons. I don't think he has. I think he's a very arrogant player that thinks, I don't need to get any better. I'm already in the NBA. I'm getting paid millions of dollars. Don't need to improve my game. Well, I think clearly you do, and your team does, because in the playoffs there, you couldn't hit a jump shot. They couldn't go to you down the stretch. You were unreliable. You turned the ball over a lot. There were questions after the deciding game being like, is this the guy that can lead your team to a championship? And the coach immediately said, I don't know. I don't know if it is. Clearly, since then, Doc Rivers has backtracked like he was Michael Jackson walking the moonwalk, saying, hey, I didn't say that. I was saying I didn't know in that situation because we had just lost and I didn't want to answer the question. No, Doc, you flat out said, I don't know if he's the guy that we can get it done with. And Ben Simmons obviously heard that too and was upset about it. But I think it's true, man. I don't think this is a guy that, at least in the point guard position, you can win a title with. And here's my assessment of Ben Simmons. He's a power forward in a small forward's body, okay? He's got the game of a power forward where he can only attack the hoop, play down low, back you down, right? Rip some rebounds, right? He's pretty good at doing that. He's not that great at distributing the ball. I don't think he's that great at handling the ball, okay? He can't shoot. So, like I said, he's a power forward in a small forward's body trying to play point guard. Like that, do you hear what I just said? That sounds so absurd. That's the type of game that Ben Simmons has right now. It's disgusting. He's got to decide what type of player he wants to be going forward. He's got to improve as a professional basketball player. So like I said, if I'm the 76ers, I get it while they're in such a tizzy here and they're in such a rush, because guess what? They're trying to trade him. They're trying to trade him, and if he doesn't come back, that lowers their trade value and they lose leverage to be able to trade him. So they're trying to say everything to get him back. And I guess what? If I'm the 76ers and if I can't trade him and he decides to sit out, well, then my team's even worse, because now I have one less player in my rotation and now everything's on Joel Embiid. So I totally get why the 76ers are trying to walk this back. But if I'm them, and me personally, I don't give a crap if Ben Simmons sits out. I don't even think he's that good of a player. I think he's overrated. And I think they're going to have a hard time trying to find a trade partner to get this guy.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me is that Simmons is hurting his trade value right now. Like, what? Stop talking. Like, I'm not saying, like, don't talk. But, like, what? Like, just let this play out. Behind the scenes, Sixers, you want to leave. I don't think they want him there anyway. So let them work out a deal with somebody. But the Sixers are now losing leverage because everybody knows that Simmons doesn't want to be there. Teams are going to know when a guy's on the trading block with another team. They just know that because people know this, that Daryl Morey's trying to trade Ben Simmons because these phone calls. But what they didn't know before, Simmons gets all flustered about it is that Simmons is really upset about being a 76er. Now they know that, so now they don't have to offer as much to the Sixers. That hurts the Sixers' motivation to trade Ben Simmons. And whatever anybody thinks of Simmons' talent or his fit or his game or whatever, they invested a number one pick in him. So the Sixers aren't just going to give him up for a bag of balls. They're just not. So, if Simmons is laid off of criticizing the organization, what they could have done, they probably would have had better leverage. They might have been able to trade him for Dame Lillard. I mean, that could have been a possible trade option, which would have been good for Simmons, because then he can go play out in Portland, where the fans there like the Trailblazers, but nobody else in the country pays attention to them. And Dame Dollars, drilling game winners. But, if he goes out to Portland, Dame Lillard comes to the Sixers. Lillard's would be the perfect complement to Embiid. I hate that as a Celtics fan. And then, Simmons can go out there. He can be the point guard. He can rebound. He can play defense, what they need in Portland. He can kick it out to CJ McCollum, who's a three-point shooter. And then they can kind of put some shooters around him and go from there. He needs to be in a place where Simmons is afraid to go to the basket, get fouled, and go to the free throw line. That's his biggest problem. And we saw it with Giannis this year. Giannis isn't afraid. Giannis will go to the free throw line. He airballed a couple free throws. He bricked a couple free throws. But he's not going to be totally embarrassed by it. He just moves on, and then the next game he shoots 90%. And that's why Giannis is one of the best players in the NBA. That's why the Bucks just won the title. Ben Simmons has all the talent in the world, but he's afraid to miss shots. He's afraid to miss free throws. He's afraid to look kind of ridiculous out on the floor a little bit, and that's why he hasn't gotten any better. He's afraid to take shots late in the game. So go to a team where nobody's going to pay attention to you for a year or two and just kind of figure it out. And that could be Portland. It's crazy to say it now, but the Spurs are not the same organization anymore. Maybe if he goes to the Spurs and kind of, retools everything. He's got Greg Popovich as a coach. They've got, shot doctors down there. They've got a great coaching staff down there. Maybe that's an organization he goes to. He's not going to go to like the Warriors. Everybody thinks the Warriors are going to trade for him. He's going to be under the microscope if he goes to the Warriors, because everybody's going to be watching him every night. We'll see. But he's hurting his trade value by saying this stuff, and with his agent saying this stuff, more recently. And now the Sixers are really caught between a rock and a hard place with this.
I mean, I've clearly said that if I'm any NBA team, I don't want this guy on my roster anyway. I'll trade nothing for him. But let's just say an NBA team does want him on their team. And like you said, San Antonio, maybe a DeMar Rosen, DeRozan for Simmons. Maybe that would be a good trade for San Antonio. I just think, like, you're right. He's too afraid. And when you're afraid to shoot, that means you got to go in the off season and dedicate yourself to getting better and improving your game. So when game one comes back, you have all the confidence in the world to shoot the shot and that you need to when you're open, and to go to the line and hit free throws. So he's got to improve his game in the off season. And I just don't think he's dedicated himself enough to doing that. And it's clearly hurting his game. It's hurting their trade value. But yeah, I mean, you brought up the Golden State Warriors as a potential trading spot. The owner just got fined $50,000 for making comments about a potential trade with Ben Simmons. So that's how, much it's been brought up. But if I'm Golden State, man, like I just said it, if I'm any NBA team, I don't want this guy on my roster. If I'm Golden State especially, I do not want to trade anybody for him, because guess what? They're probably going to want the likes of like Klay Thompson or somebody really good in return. Why would you do that? I would rather have Klay Thompson get healthy, come back, and play alongside Draymond Green and Steph Curry, and you've still got a great team that can make a run in the West without a Ben Simmons. I'll tell you what, if you trade Klay Thompson, one of the best three-point shooters in the game, for one of the worst shooters in the game, that's idiotic to me. But I don't know. I just think, like you said, the trade value is going down right now because he's speaking up. Every team knows he wants out and they want to trade him. They're trying to backtrack and say that they don't want to trade him. They want him back. He's saying he might sit out. So right now it's just an absolute debacle. And one that we're going to have to continue going forward, because I think over the next few weeks, it's definitely one that's going to get shaken up here.
Folks, if you like this show, you're watching it right now on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. That's Comeback Sports on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, Comeback Sports. And then all the cut-ups that our awesome producer, Ben Kudo, puts together after the show, that'll all filter to your YouTube channel. You don't have to go search for it. It's just right there in your subscriptions.